live stream on YouTube as well.
Gopal Jaya Jaya.
Maharaj, please accept my obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
I hope I don't. I hope I say everything okay today.
Well,
Either way, you'll be good.
yeah, either way, you say things that are okay, it's good. If you don't, it gives me a chance to be nasty.
We really enjoy your classes, Maharaj, every day.
Your kindness.
Sometimes I'm not completely there. But whenever we can.
Most of the time, I'm not completely there. Krishna, Krishna.
Okay, so as devotees are gathering, let's see how many we have on YouTube. Okay, let's see. Let's copy. Okay, the YouTube stream has started and it's 8:01, so we can get started now. So thank you all very much, dear devotees, for joining us this evening, Saturday evening. We're broadcasting live on our ISKCON of New Jersey Towaco channel, and it is our distinct privilege to have His Grace Gopal Hari Prabhu. Gopal Hari Prabhu is an old friend of ours for many years. We've known him since at least around maybe I would say 2006 or 7. They came once to our place in New York when we were living in Long Island, and they did a seminar on homeschooling. And he was wearing saffron back then. It's come a long way since then. But yes, so Gopal Hari Prabhu is, along with his very illustrious brother and his illustrious mother, have been exemplary devotees in showing how we can raise children in Krishna consciousness and how we can absorb ourselves in Srimad Bhagavatam and help the world by doing so. And we are very proud to have such wonderful devotees in our movement. And the future of our movement is bright when we see such fantastic devotees coming up and serving. So Gopal Hari Prabhu is, he studied at Oxford. He got a PhD of DPhil in Oxford, and is currently an associate professor of philosophy and religion at Evansville, Indiana, specializing in South Asian religions. And he teaches a number of courses, world, living religion, Eastern philosophies, and so on. And his book, which is forthcoming from Oxford University Press, the book is Maya in the Bhagavad Purana, the Human Suffering and Divine Play. So that should be coming out sometime in September of this year. Very anxiously looking forward to that. And he's also serving as the editor for the Journal of Hindu Christian Studies, so widely read journal in the field of comparative religion. He has written a number of papers and in journals and presented at many conferences. Some of them like The World as Illusion, Environmental Implications of the Doctrine of Maya, Women as Maya, Gendered Narrative in the Bhagavad Purana, and another one called May Calamities Befall Us at Every Step. So his presentation on Bhagavatam, his absorption in Bhagavatam, it's always fascinating to hear from him. So without much ado, I would like to request Gopal Hari Prabhu to lead us into this another intriguing topic that we are very much looking forward to, the conversation of the dialogue between Dharma and Pariksit Maharaj. Sorry. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much. You're actually one of the heroes of my daughter. She's 2.5 years old, and she says that Madan Gopal Prabhu is my favorite speaker, because she just hears you every single day. So thank you for kindly inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Actually, in preparing for this class, I had a chance to, after some time, absorb myself a little bit in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a great, you could say, pleasure and a matter of, you could say, the devotee's mercy that we can discuss Bhagavatam today. So I request the blessings of all the senior Vaishnavas, all the Vaishnavas present here, that I may be able to say something that is worthwhile. So before we start the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can all chant one mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we will start reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17. We will not start reading, but the first canto classes have been going on. But today's topic that Nilamani Prabhu requested me to speak on is the punishment and reward of Kali, and particularly the section of Dharma, the bull, and Pariksit Maharaja's meeting of Dharma and Bhumi. So we will try to understand that section, because that is a part of the Srimad Bhagavatam that is very engaging. It's a very, you could say, difficult section. And last time, you may recall, we talked about the teachings of Bhishma Dev, the prayers of Queen Kunti. So this is a natural follow-up of that, on that topic. So today we will try to further understand this topic about how the devotee of the Lord faces difficult situations, and how did Maharaj Pariksit and Dharma and Bhumi, how did they respond to a particular situation? So to begin with, I'd just like to read some verses from this chapter. They set the scene very nicely. This part in the Srimad Bhagavatam is telling the narrative of how Pariksit Maharaj, this is nearly 5,000 years ago, he saw that the age of Kali was coming. He saw that the age of Kali had come about, and people were acting in ways that suggested that they were under the influence of that age, and being very concerned about the well-being of his citizens. Being an ideal king, an ideal Kshatriya, a great devotee of the Lord, he decided that these influences cannot stay in my kingdom, and therefore he embarks upon his chariot, and he starts to travel various lands and starts to conquer all directions, because the presence of Kali is somewhere. So he wants to bring all the lands in, under righteousness, to bring them under a Vaishnava king. And so in the course of his travels, he actually ultimately meets the culprit, which is Kali. And this is where this chapter begins. It begins with Maharaj Pariksit encountering Kali, and encountering him in a very gruesome scene where he has beaten the bull and the cow. So this is the first verse of the 17th chapter. Suto vacha tatra go mithunam raja anyamanam manathavat dandahastam cha vrishalam tadrishe nipralanchanam. Translation: Suta Goswami said, after reaching that place, Maharaj Pariksit observed that a low-caste Shudra, dressed like a king, was beating a cow and a bull with a club, as if they had no owner. The bull was as white as a lotus flower. He was terrified of the Shudra who was beating him, and he was so afraid that he was standing on one leg, trembling and urinating. Although the cow is beneficial because one can draw religious principles from her, she was now rendered poor and calfless. Her legs were being beaten by a Shudra. There were tears in her eyes, and she was distressed and weak. She was hankering after some grass in the field. Maharaj Pariksit, well equipped with arrows and bow, and seated on a golden embossed chariot, spoke to him, the Shudra, with a deep voice sounding like thunder. Oh, who are you? You appear to be strong, and yet you dare kill, within my protection, those who are helpless. By your dress, you pose yourself to be a godly man, king, but by your deeds, you are opposing the principles of the twice-born Kshatriyas. You rogue, this is Pariksit Maharaj speaking, do you dare beat an innocent cow because Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the carrier of the Gandiva bow, are out of sight? Since you are beating the innocent in a secluded place, you are considered a culprit and therefore deserved to be killed. Then Maharaj Pariksit asked the bull, oh, who are you? Are you a bull as white as a white lotus? Or are you a demigod? You have lost 3 of your legs and are moving on only 1. Are you some demigod causing us grief in the form of a bull? Now, for the first time in a kingdom well protected by the arms of the kings of the Kuru dynasty, I see you grieving with tears in your eyes. Up till now, no one on earth had ever shed tears because of royal negligence. O son of Surabhi, you need lament no longer now. There is no need to fear this low-class Shudra. And, O mother cow, as long as I am living as a ruler and subduer of all envious men, there is no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you. O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life, and good rebirth vanish when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore, I must kill this most wretched man, because he is violent against other living beings. He, Maharaj Pariksit, repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus, O son of Surabhi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the kings who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore, I wish all good to you. Please tell me of the perpetrator of these mutilations, which blackmail the reputation of the sons of Pritha. Whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinances of the scriptures in ordinary times, when there's no emergency. So now the personality of religion responds to Pariksit Maharaj's question. His question is, who has broken your legs? Who has been torturing you? And to this, Dharma, the bull, responds. The personality of Dharma said, these words just spoken by you befit a person of the Pandava dynasty, captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas. Even Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, performed duties as a messenger. O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings. because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. Some of the philosophers who deny all sorts of duality declare that one's own self is responsible for his personal happiness and distress. Others say that superhuman powers are responsible, while yet others say that activity is responsible, and the gross materialists maintain that nature is the ultimate cause. And there are some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor know it by imagination, nor express it by words. O sage amongst kings, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. Suta Goswami said, O best among the Brahmanas, the Emperor Pariksit, thus hearing the personality of religion speak, was fully satisfied, and without mistake or regret, he gave his reply. The king said, O you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion. Thus it is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by mental speculation or by word jugglery. Then I'll skip a few verses. Maharaja Pariksit, who could fight 1,000 enemies single-handedly, thus pacified the personality of religion and the earth. Then he took up his sharp sword to kill the personality of Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. So I'll stop here, and I will go back to this to the reply of Maharaj Pariksit, which we read here, and I'd like to read Srila Prabhupada's purport to that verse. So once again, the verse, Rajo Vacha Dharmam Bravishya Dharmagya Dharmosi Vrisharupadrik Yad Adharma Krita Sthanam Shuchak Kasyapi Tad Bhavet. The king said, O you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion. Perfect. A devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. But in both the cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent, and thus it is his grace. In the case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. But in the case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him in great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such great difficulty, being crucified by the ignorant. But he was never angry at the mischief mongers. That is the way of accepting a thing, either favorably or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner, like the mischief monger. By God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. Maharaj Pariksit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, a devotee has no suffering at all, because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali. Although everyone lodges such complaints before state authorities, the extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion. For no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion. Om Gyanam Timarandasya Gyananjana Shilakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishram Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadapi Swapitam Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripasindhuve Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo. So I read for quite some time. I hope it wasn't too long. But there was a reason why I wanted to read this entire section. And that is because this section is showing the complete picture, so to say, the full event of what took place and how Maharaj Pariksit, being the ideal devotee and the ideal king, responded. So first we saw how Pariksit Maharaj is traveling the earth to punish the wrongdoers, specifically to subdue Kali. Then we find that he encounters the cow and the bull who are injured. And when he sees them, he first sees them, and then he vows to punish the perpetrator. He says that whoever has done this, this cannot take place under the kingdom of the descendants of Arjuna. So the very fact that he's coming from the family of exalted devotees, he's the follower of exalted devotees. For that very reason, this offense cannot go unexcused. And he vows to punish whoever the perpetrator is. Then he sees Kali there. And when Kali is there, he tells him, "This is your end. How dare you do this in my kingdom?" And after he tells Kali, then he speaks to Dharma. And you know, Dharma is the victim. And he wants to hear from Dharma's mouth. Before he punishes Kali, it's pretty obvious that Kali has done this. He's sitting next to him and, you know, clearly with his club and has just, you know, still blood on it. But he wants to hear from Dharma that this person indeed is the perpetrator before he punishes Kali. And then when Dharma speaks, Dharma says these very amazing words, which you read. He says, "I cannot understand who is my perpetrator." Some people say it is one's own self. Some people say it is Daiva, the demigods, the higher beings. Others say that it is karma that causes a person's suffering. I don't know. And oh great king, you with your own intelligence, you figure out who is my perpetrator. And when Dharma says these words, then Pariksit Maharaj says this very famous verse where he says, "You must be none other than Dharma himself." Because who on this planet, and just think about the scene, it's easy to conceptualize, but very difficult to actually respond in that way, in that situation. If someone is beating us and blood is coming and someone has broken our bones, and the police officer comes and asks us, who has beaten you? We say, well, I'm not sure. This is, why I'm suffering, I'm not sure. And in fact, I think it's most likely due to my own past misdeeds, or maybe due to the plan of the Lord. But there could be so many causes for my suffering. Who can respond in this way? No one can. So Pariksit Maharaj says, you must be Dharma. And you are Dharma because you are following the principle that the person who identifies the perpetrator has the same destination as the perpetrator himself. And Pariksit Maharaj approves of Dharma's behavior. Therefore, he identifies him as Dharma, as religion personified. And then, very interestingly enough, after that, the Maharaj Pariksit pulls out his sword and is ready to kill Kali. after stating to the bull that in fact your response is correct, and we should not identify the perpetrator, Pariksit Maharaj pulls out his sword and is going to kill Kali. So this entire description very much seems to be a contradiction. It appears to be contradictory. How is it possible that both things could be true? That Maharaj Pariksit could agree with Dharma the bull and also act in such a decisive, strong, and just way with Kali. And this topic is especially relevant to us today. As we all know, there's the Black Lives movement going on, and people are saying that justice should be meted out. And on the other hand, as devotees, we're taught to be tolerant and humble and forgiving. So this is actually a conflict that every devotee at various times in their life faces. That is this a time for me to be humble and tolerant and compassionate and see the bigger picture, that ultimately everything is the plan of the Lord? Or is this a time for me to bring about the correct justice, to bring about the correct situation? And it's this dialogue, this discussion, that is at the heart of this section of the Bhagavatam. So the first point to be noted is, as we were discussing last time, Srila Prabhupada in this purport, in explaining this verse about the perpetrator and the person who is being attacked, he mentions that the vision that the devotee has, the correct vision that the devotee has, is that the devotee sees that everything is happening only by the sanction of the Lord. And so therefore, because everything is happening by the sanction of the Lord, the scriptures say not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord, the devotee sees everything to be the plan of the Lord. And therefore, the devotee will not blame the instrument of his suffering, but will see that the ultimate cause is the Lord's plan. And it's very interesting that because the Srila Prabhupada, I think this is the main reason why, because he's speaking of the devotees of the Lord, like Jesus Christ. In this purport, he's not exactly pointing to karma. That the devotee thinks that, oh, this is my karma, and therefore I am suffering, and therefore I should not blame someone else. Which of course he does in other places. He says how the devotee always feels that I actually deserve more, but Krishna is giving me less. But here particularly, Krishna, he's pointing to the cause of our suffering as being, he says here, the grace of the Lord, and how the Lord sees God in everything. Prabhupada particularly says here. The devotee sees the Lord in everything. And therefore, when we identify a perpetrator, when we say that this person is the cause of my suffering, then we are actually blaming someone else for something that is meant for us, that is in some way or other brought about by our own self. Krishna is giving us his mercy because we need the mercy. It may be our karma, but even if it's not our karma, Krishna is arranging that plan because that plan is good for us. So we are blaming someone else for something that actually belongs to me. And therefore, Pariksit Maharaj here is saying the correct statement that the person who blames goes to the same destination as the perpetrator, because both of them are making, in some ways, similar mistakes. One is attacking the other person, and then we are attacking that person back by saying that you are actually the cause of my suffering, when in fact we ourselves are the cause of our own suffering. which is part of, he's saying, the Lord's plan. So, what this suggests, therefore, is that if someone is attacking us, it is not actually they who are doing it, but it is we, or the plan of the Lord, that is causing it to happen. That, this is Krishna's plan to for us to go through whatever karmic reaction we have, whatever needs to come to us, and therefore it's predetermined by the Lord. It's already destined by the Lord. So the issue that Pariksit Maharaj here is raising, that this verse is raising, is that tension between destiny and free will, between destiny and our agency. That is everything destined, or is there actual agency? Because if everything is predestined, then we cannot accuse anyone of anything, because everything has to move forward by destiny. But in fact, if we do have agency, then we can accuse, you are the wrongdoer, you have done this, and therefore you are at fault. So this is a very nice question, that is there something like agency? And this is a topic that is discussed very repeatedly throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Srimad Bhagavatam makes it clear on many different occasions that in fact we have agency. The plan of the Lord is there, and our free will is there. Both of them work in unison. And unless we have free will and agency, there's really no purpose for the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's no purpose for all the teachings, for all the saints, for all their instructions, for us to hear them and to try to apply them. Because if we didn't have freedom and free will, we would not have control of our future. And this question of destiny and free will is also discussed in relation to how we get bhakti, the cause of devotion. How do we get the service of the Lord? Do we get bhakti simply because it is destined, that we are supposed to get it by the will of the Lord or by the mercy of the devotee? Or do we get the bhakti, the devotion to the Lord, by our own efforts? The fact that we make an effort, therefore we get the mercy, the bhakti of the Lord. So actually, in the pastime of Narad Muni, this point is being discussed as far as what is the cause of bhakti. And in that section, our Vaishnavacharyas and Srila Prabhupada, they tell us that Narad Muni is a small boy who goes and serves the saints and the sages. And he's a very humble, peaceful, kind, gentle boy who's not interested in sports. And therefore, the sages show their mercy upon Narad Muni. And due to that mercy, Narad Muni becomes who he is today, the great sage Narad Muni, the causeless mercy that he receives from those sages. So at that point, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur asks the question, he says, did Narad Muni receive bhakti to the Lord, receive the mercy of the sages because he was a gentle and very peaceful and obedient young boy who was serving the sages? Was that the reason for him to receive the mercy of the sages? And to this, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur responds that no, this was not the reason why the sages gave their mercy to Narad Muni. Why? Because the sages are impartial. They will give mercy equally to everyone. And so therefore, they will give mercy to Narad Muni, who was gentle and very obedient, but they will also give mercy to some who is not obedient and not gentle. And they will also give mercy to Narad Muni's mother, who was serving the sages at that time. They give mercy to everyone. And so therefore, we cannot say, because the mercy of the devotee is impartial and spontaneous and causeless, we cannot say that Narada's good qualities was the cause of him receiving the sage's mercy or his receiving the bhakti of the Lord. So, but then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur asks, he says that if that's the case, then why did Narad Muni receive that mercy and become such a great sage? Why didn't, for example, his mother become, a female Narad Muni, or in her next life become someone just like Narad Muni? Why did the other servants in the ashram not become other Narad Munis? Why specifically did Narad Muni become the great sage that he is? And to this, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he responds, he says that that the mercy of the devotees is causeless, it is impartial, and it was given to everyone present there. But because Narad Muni was obedient, because he was gentle, and because he had Sukriti, he was devoted to the Lord, therefore he accepted that mercy. So the mercy was given to everyone, and regardless of their qualities, but he accepted that mercy because he had that gentle, he had that openness, not exactly the material qualities, but that openness to receive, to accept the mercy of the sages. And so because of his agency in that regard, his effort, so to say, or his personal endeavor, so to say, in that regard, he received devotion to the Lord. The point being that, of course, there can be instances, and there are instances in the scriptures, that where a person is essentially forced to become a devotee. There's so much mercy that they don't have any choice, and simply by the will of the Lord, the determination of the Lord, that person becomes a devotee. But those cases are quite rare. Generally speaking, we have to make some effort from our side to become a devotee of the Lord. Another example is like Srila Prabhupada. Right? Srila Prabhupada spoke in so many different places, gave thousands of lectures to tens of thousands of people. And his mercy was equally distributed to anyone who came to him. But why did certain individuals become, great saints, and others not immediately, at least, become such saintly souls? Why did some people become his disciples and take up the process of bhakti, and others did not? Srila Prabhupada's mercy was equal. Srila Prabhupada equally shared it with everyone. And his mercy had no cause other than the good fortune of those who came to him. But there was some, you could say, some receptivity. That was not the cause of his mercy, but some receptivity on the part of those who accepted the process of bhakti of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And therefore they made that advancement. In the same way, here, the knowledge that is being given to us by Dharma the bull is that the devotee of the Lord sees that all of this is a plan of Krishna. People who attack me are simply instruments of Krishna, in the fulfillment of Krishna's plan, or are instruments of my own karma. And therefore, everything is determined by the Lord. So if I'm, getting angry at someone, I'm actually acting in ignorance. Everything is the mercy of the Lord and determined by the Lord. However, at the same time, and Srila Prabhupada actually says this in the next purport of the next verse, he says, at the same time, we have to recognize that the perpetrator has some agency. The person who is performing that activity towards us, or towards anyone else, has agency, and that actor, that agent, must be corrected. That must be corrected. So Prabhupada in the purport starts like this. He says, a question may be raised as to why a devotee should refrain from identifying an actor, although he knows definitely that the Lord is the ultimate doer of everything. So although he knows that, he says, why should the devotee refrain from identifying the actor? I mean, it's the obvious fact that this person has done this. Knowing the ultimate doer, one should not pose himself. Knowing the ultimate doer, one should not pose himself as ignorant of the actual performer. So a devotee also has common sense. If someone's attacking him, he will lift up the phone and call 911. When Srila Prabhupada was in the Bowery and this crazy person who was on drugs attacked him with a knife, Srila Prabhupada ran out of the apartment because he identified the actor that this person is trying to kill me. So then how do both of these things come together? Well, here Prabhupada appears to be making the point that identifying the cause of our suffering and happiness is different from identifying the cause of an activity. So the devotee of the Lord will identify the actor, that this person is doing wrong and therefore must be corrected. Justice must be given, that person must be corrected. So he identifies the actor. Here Prabhupada is using the word identifying an actor. But he does not say that that actor is the cause of his suffering. That is different. One's own suffering is not due to him. That person is simply the instrument. That one's own suffering is due to one's own past karma and the will of the Lord, the plan of the Lord. And therefore, he's not the cause of my suffering, but he is the actor. In that consciousness, the devotee, although the devotee performs his duty, the devotee is able to give up the anger that he feels towards the perpetrator. In that way, the devotee says, well, this person is not the cause of my suffering, so I don't have to be angry towards that person. Because if anything, I have to be angry towards my own self. But I still have to respond to the situation in the right way. Now, when we respond to a situation in a just way, in the correct way, but it's without anger, that will change our response. That it's not just that it changes our consciousness, but it also changes our response. So the first thing the Srimad Bhagavatam is doing in this case is that it's changing our consciousness. It's saying that although the devotee will do the needful, will act in the way that is needed and that is correct, like Maharaja Pariksit did. He punished Kali. Even after hearing what Dharma told him, he picks up his sword and he is about to kill Kali. He decides to kill Kali. Even though the devotee acts in the same common sense way that one would expect him to act, the devotee's consciousness is different. The devotee is not acting out of revenge or anger because he does not see this person as the cause of his own suffering. And secondly, with that knowledge and the change of consciousness, the devotee will not act out of revenge, but will act out of the duty of a king or a leader or a governor. So Maharaj Pariksit, here we see that he's very, very strong in his response. I mean, throughout, this is just, one small section in which he praises Dharma's decision, Dharma's outlook. But before this, after this, he's very sternly punishing Kali. He's not sparing him. So the devotee is not, you could say, he's not a sentimentalist. He knows that, Pariksit Maharaj knows that this is for the benefit of Kali, for him to be punished. At the same time, the devotee is not acting on the principle of anger. As a final point, I should mention that Pariksit Maharaj and Dharma's response also has to do with who they are, their particular role and occupation. Pariksit Maharaj is acting like a king, as a protector. And it is his duty, it is his dharma to protect all of his citizens. And we read in a previous verse how he said that no tears have ever been produced due to royal negligence. I mean, he is so vigilant that what to speak of our negligent leaders now who are allowing, people to suffer for no good reason, for racism, discrimination, all these things. He's not even letting one person in his kingdom suffer unjustly, to shed a tear due to the wrong reason, because he is the king. It is his duty to do so. And therefore, he's acting on behalf of the Lord. He is also acting based upon the plan of the Lord. In the case of Dharma, you could say the attack has been performed to Dharma himself. And Dharma is taking the role of the ideal Vaishnava, that for his own self, he is perfectly tolerant. He is, tolerant and humble, and he is gentle and kind, very forgiving. So he's showing the example of how we ourselves, when we face tribulations, what is the philosophical outlook that we should have? But I should also mention that even for ourselves, the devotee will, defend himself to some degree, to you could say a logical degree. But the devotee's, you could say, self-defense, like the case of Srila Prabhupada when he was running out of the apartment when the person was attacking him with a knife. The devotee's self-defense is coming from a different place. It is not coming from the place of a misunderstanding of the situation. It's coming from the place of knowledge that this is how things actually are, and this person is conditioned by his nature to attack me, like a snake bites a living entity, and therefore this person is acting according to their conditioning, and they need to be corrected. They need to be brought to the proper consciousness. But ultimately, this is something also inward. I have to look at my own purification. Why is the Lord making this happen? Why is it happening to me? Why is it happening at this time? The Lord is trying to teach me, and the cause of my suffering is not the perpetrator, but is my own self. So I'll end with just a little small short story of a snake who became a disciple of Narad Muni. There's one narration in the scriptures that Narad Muni, he is so wonderful, such a universal preacher. One time he made a snake into a devotee. Why not? So he went to a forest and found a snake and made him into a devotee. So he makes this snake into a devotee, and pretty soon the village boys sort of start to realize that this is a snake that will never bite. This is a snake that will never bite, because Narad Muni told him that now you're a devotee, more humble than a grass, more tolerant than a tree. Don't bite anyone. Don't cause harm to anyone. Don't act on the principle of revenge. So the village children, they figured out that this snake is like a weakling, and he won't bite us. So they start to mistreat the snake. They would jump on it and take a stick and start to hit it. But the snake, following the instruction of a spiritual master, Narad Muni, allowed the children to beat him. So the next time when Narad Muni comes, Narad Muni asks, "My dear disciple, how is everything going? How's your Krishna consciousness?" And to this, the snake responds. He said, "Gurudev, I am deeply aggrieved, because every day I'm getting beaten, and I don't know what to do. This is too painful." And so at that point, Narad Muni says, "Yes, I see that this is happening." And he said, "I told you not to bite, but I did not tell you not to hiss, not to make a hissing sound." So he said, "Don't bite anyone, don't kill him, but you can hiss and scare them away." So this is, you could say, in terms of his own suffering, not in terms of others. We must follow the example of Maharaja Pariksit, especially if we have that role of leadership, to not tolerate the sufferings of others. Interestingly, in the last chapter, Dharma lists all the good qualities of a great soul. And the third quality that he lists is not to tolerate, that a devotee never is unable to tolerate the sufferings of others. Paradukha dukhi. But for one's own self, this is how Narad Muni was instructing us, that the devotee never takes revenge, he never harms another person, but the devotee can be intelligent and can hiss if needed, just a little bit, so that the devotee can continue their service to Krishna. If they don't have, if they don't have a proper mental and physical state, how can they continue their service for Krishna? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that for the practice of bhakti, the mind and body are very needed and useful in the practice of bhakti. They should be in proper order. So for that reason, the devotee will, for the service of the Lord, will also perform his prescribed duty of protecting the body that is given to us by Krishna. So I'll stop at this point, and we've just touched upon these points. So if anyone has any comments, corrections, questions, please go forward.
Thank you, Gopal Hari Prabhu. I just wanted to thank you for highlighting this difference, because we do read these purports and sometimes we do tend to make the confused decision that, okay, whatever's happened to me, this is just my, what's predestined for me, and so let it happen. And sometimes we even see devotees, or we just misuse some of this, like, if I'm meant to get sick, I'll get sick, so I'll just go out and go to the beach and go to the picnic, and everybody's sitting on top of each other. It doesn't matter. I mean, I can't stay isolated forever, so let's just have a good time. And then this COVID spikes up in my state, and 50 people get sick just in my neighborhood or whatever, and maybe it was meant to be. So and it's driven by the misunderstanding that it was meant to be, it was predestined, so then it's okay for me to be careless. And so Srila Prabhupada has told us we can't just ignore physical laws. And if there's a tiger in the forest, you don't be foolish and say, I'm a devotee, I can go and hang out with the tiger. So I want to thank you for kind of highlighting that, and maybe you can also expand on that a little bit more. This notion that, okay, it was meant to be, like, okay, I forgot my wife's birthday today, so I didn't wish her, and then at night, turns out I have to sleep in the tool shed tonight. Hey, that's just my karma, it's just meant to be. But actually, it would have been better if I had remembered her birthday and wished her or something, So then who am I to blame, right? Maybe it was meant to be because it's predestined from 10 lifetimes ago that I'm supposed to sleep in the tool shed tonight. So sometimes we use that to escape, one, to escape a sense of responsibility, or two, to escape a sense of applying intelligence, being intellectually lazy when making decisions that are impactful. So maybe if you can comment on that.
Yes, Prabhu. One of the things that I've learned over time is that Shastra always needs to be understood in its wholeness and in context. So if we take this verse separately, that Dharma, the bull, has said, we could come to a wrong conclusion. Even though that instruction is completely correct, we could come to a wrong conclusion. But when we see Maharaja Pariksit, we see that his action is so decisive. It is so strong. In one place, Srila Prabhupada says, in one letter or something, he says that leadership must be very strong. There's no meaning of leadership that is not strong. So even Srila Prabhupada himself was very strong when needed. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is making it very clear that we don't believe in predetermination. Agency is there. People who believe in predetermination, they say that everything in this world is predetermined by God. And one of the reasons why I feel this is a very interesting topic is because there's some controversy even in our movement that Bhakti is predetermined by the Lord. We don't have to strive for devotion. When Krishna wants to give us devotion, then we will receive it, because it is 100% causeless. But this is not the teaching of the scriptures and the Bhagavatam. And we saw in the case of the example of Narad Muni. In any situation, in any place where we're at, we must make an effort. We must make a concerted decision out of our own free will to go in a specific direction. Karma, for example, presupposes free will. Bhakti, devotional love, presupposes free will. What is the meaning of love without free will? So free will must be there. But at the same time, there is a balance between free will and destiny. And that is what is being told you. And the devotee recognizes that I have free will in every situation. And that's what determines my future. But as a human being, I don't have the freedom to fly like a bird flies. But I do have the freedom to take an airplane and fly, or not to fly, like in your case, your example of the coronavirus. I have that choice to take the risk or not to take the risk. And that decision is up to me. And based upon the modes that I put myself in, based upon the gunas that I choose, I will be accepting or rejecting these particular situations. And so therefore, every situation, I am responsible for the situation that I put myself in. As a final quick note, there's a time when devotees would be breaking the speed limit in service for Krishna. And they were thinking, well, Krishna is the protector of everyone. He's, paritranaya sadhunam, he protects his devotees in every situation. So my life is in Krishna's hands. Then Krishna's with me, even if I speed and if I break the speed limit. So there's one, I think, bumper sticker or some message that a devotee made, and he put it on his car, on the temple car, which said that Krishna gets out of the car past 70 miles an hour. So he said at 70, until then, Krishna's there with you in the car, because you're making your best effort to be careful and prudent. And so Krishna will protect you and he'll be with you there. But if you're careless, then Krishna gets out of the car and says, well, now you're being careless. Of course, Krishna is still there with us. But the point is that Krishna will then teach us a lesson. So our agency is always there, and we cannot undermine our own agency.
Thank you, Prabhu. It reminds me of this other verse in the Gita somewhere Krishna says, look, I've told you all these things, and if you follow them, then you'll be with me and I'll be with you. But if you don't, then you're on your own, So he kind of gives, he doesn't give an unconditional, I'm always with you, even if you go down that path, everything will be hunky-dory. He says, if you follow these things, then I'm with you. Otherwise, all bets are off. So even there, I guess that's like from a broader perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice friend, yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Are there any other questions or comments from our audience? We are actually close to the end of the time. We have 1 minute. We have a question from Athena, or a comment. Okay, I'll just unmute Athena if she wants to make a comment or question. Go ahead, Athena.
Hare Krishna. No, I thought this class was so wonderful and clear. And it's a topic that I think many devotees think about. And I just want to appreciate, both of you for the wonderful dialogue. And I've learned so much. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Athena. We have a question from Brandy Beckham. How to guide on forgiveness? Thank you for the wisdom. It's a good question on forgiveness. Of course, a big topic, but
Forgiveness.
we can touch upon it.
Yes. Actually, there is many different ornaments that a person has, and qualities that a person has, and it's described that the ornament of a great soul, of a great devotee, is his forgiveness. And here we find that Dharma, the bow, is immediately, almost instantaneously in some ways, forgiving Kali. Because for one thing, he's not seeing him as the cause of his suffering. But on the other hand, he's also sort of forgiving him in the sense that he's recognizing that this person has acted badly, but has acted due to his conditioning, right? Just like if we're walking in the forest and a snake bites us, we get a snake bite. Then at that point, you know, when the snake bites us, you know, we'll feel the pain, the suffering, and you know, we'll take care of the bite. But then we won't harbor such an anger towards that snake. In the same way, if we were in the forest and a human being attacks us. Why? Because in the case of the snake, we recognize, oh, it's his conditioning that is making him act in such a way. It's the three modes of nature, and you know, now he's a snake and he's doing that. Of course, it is his fault that he is, you know, chosen those modes of nature and ultimately become a snake. But at least in the present body, it's his conditioning. Therefore, he's acting in this way. So in the same way, when the devotee sees a person attacking him, he understands that this person has agency. You know, this person from their side, in terms of their activity, is doing something very wrong, and they need to be corrected. But he or she recognizes the unfortunate situation that this soul is in. He feels compassion for that soul rather than anger. He, you know, he's replacing the emotion of anger with compassion. He feels compassion that this person, Krishna Bhulyaji Bhoga Vanchakare, this person has forgotten Krishna. He's come in this material world. He's become a wretch, like Prabhupada says in different in a song, and he's and now he's performing these heinous activities. So he feels compassion and a desire to rectify that soul, a desire to uplift that soul. And because he feels that compassion, he forgives the living entity. He forgives that devotee. So when we can, you know, giving up, we can only give up anger if we forgive. So freedom from anger means forgiveness, and we can be forgiving towards others if we're compassionate towards them. Compassion is very essential for a devotee, and that compassion comes through the correct understanding, right? Through knowledge. This is why we read Srimad Bhagavatam. Through bhakti, through devotion and knowledge, we gain that compassion. I don't know so much about forgiveness. Maharaj, would you like to add something on forgiveness?
I'm generally quite unforgiving, so.
Well, so yes, we should strive for forgiveness. Every devotee is striving for that. And one final point on this, that in the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada mentions how Vasudeva and Devaki, they were the parents of Krishna, and they were so exalted. And one of the markers of their exaltedness is that Kansa kills their 8 children, 7 children, one after the other. And then after that, Kansa realizes his mistake, and he comes to Vasudeva begging for forgiveness for a short period of time. You know, it's one of his good moments, so to say. And at that moment, Vasudeva immediately forgives him. He says, this person, this fool, who has caused us so much pain, he's come to ask for forgiveness. But now maybe he's changing, and he forgives Kansa. Of course, being a great intelligent devotee, he does not drop his guard. He recognizes that very soon Kansa will change again. And so I should not trust him. I should not trust him anymore. But Srila Prabhupada there makes a point that this is what it takes to become the parent of the Lord, that how you can be so forgiving. We also find Draupadi forgives Ashwatthama. So these are the great souls, and we cannot do anything in Krishna consciousness artificially. So these are examples that are given that we aspire to follow, but if we try to act above our level of advancement, it may not work for us. We have to strive for forgiveness, but we may not be on that path.
Thank you so much, Gopal Hari Prabhu, and thank you all dear devotees for joining. That's about all the time that we have this evening. Just want to remind everybody, we have this class on every night at 8 p.m. So please join us 7 nights a week. Tomorrow we have Amarendra Prabhu on the glorious life of Baladev Vidyabhushan, so don't miss that. And then of course Monday, Wednesday, Friday we have our own Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj from Towaco. So please join us on the same channel every day. And before we go, I would like to request Neelmani Prabhu to give us some parting words of thanks, and then everyone can say Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have to ask for forgiveness. Somehow I was not able to join the class until quite a long way through it. Please forgive me for that. Just some actually uncontrollable circumstances. But firstly, I wanted to congratulate you on Balram Kripa Prabhu. So for those of you who don't know, Gopal Hari Prabhu, I think 2 weeks ago, became the proud father of his second child, Balram Kripa.
Hari Bol. Yeah.
Wonderful photo. Baby looks so peaceful and so already down to earth. I can just see he's already a devotee. So congratulations, Prabhu. Congratulations. And thank you again so much for coming and joining us. And we hope we'll get your association again soon. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
There you go. Such wonderful news. Congratulations, Prabhu. And if anybody else would like to say a quick congratulations, you can unmute yourself and offer your blessings to the baby and to Gopal Hari Prabhu and family. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Prabhuji.
Then Gopal Prabhu, what time is the class tomorrow?
8 p.m. 8.
8 p.m.
Yes.
Hari Bol, congratulations.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Please bless Balaram Kripa that he can become a devotee of the Lord.
Hari Bol, congratulations. Hare Krishna. Thank you for
Gopal Hari
wonderful
Prabhu.
class.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations,
Hari Bol,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Congratulations and wonderful class, Gopal Hari Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for a wonderful class again, and congratulations. Your son must be a very, very great and elevated soul. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Haribo, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.